Hi,
I'm Jason.
I'm Chelsea.
We're the Munsons.
And we weren't planning on having kids.
Much less adopt.
So,
when we became parents, we hit the books and hired the experts.
And this is what we learned.
These are our family hacks.
Who's talking?
I think you should start.
Should you want to start that over? So I know I'm talking.
I can always just edit the front of the video.
Okay. All right, so today we're going to talk about making a request versus making a demand, and why this is important for the connection within your relationships, either with your children or with your partner and others.
Right, because how we ask for something really makes an impact on the response that we get and how the other person feels about that. Mm-hmm. So if I'm asking in a way of my children or of my partner that kind of creates this inside of them, mm-hmm. then maybe I'm experiencing stubbornness and I'm just thinking I'm asking for something simple and I'm getting this like resistance back mm-hmm. because of the way that
it's asked.
That I'm asking.
Mm-hmm. And it could be, I mean, we may ask in a kind way. It could look something like me asking you, hey babe, could you please take out the garbage?
Right.
Okay. So I'm putting the word please in there, but am I really giving you the option in a kind way to choose to do that?
No, you're really making a demand,
mm-hmm.
you know, is what you're making. You know, so, you know, a similar thing, I could be asking you for something. So for instance, hey, can you go start the car for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm not really, I'm really just making a demand. I'm telling you what I want to do. So what we want to introduce here is this concept of choice, is that one of our primary needs as human beings is choice.
Absolutely.
And when somebody communicates with us in a way and makes a request in a way where it honors our need for choice, then even just on a subconscious level, we're much more willing to respond to that in a positive way. We're much more inclined to respond to that request.
And I think it's important to talk about this with grown-ups, with like your partner, and then also that interaction with our children, because we tend to be kinder when we're making those types of demands with our spouses, our partners. We say please, whereas children, how often do we actually say please when we're speaking to our kids?
Right, because it's very often this role of I'm the parent, you're the child, mm-hmm. Sort of thing. But the reality is that you are teaching, by the way that you treat your children, you're teaching your child how to react.
Absolutely.
And how to treat other children and other adults. Mm-hmm. And you know, you, for instance, how are they going to treat you? So if you make demands of them, saying, well, they're the child, I'm the parent, I'm going to make a demand, go clean your room, then you're going to get this demand back. Make me dinner.
Right.
And
they're going to mirror whatever you're giving out. They're going to mirror back.
They're going to mirror back. And it's not that they're being disrespectful. They are speaking back to you the language that you have spoken to them.
Absolutely.
So by changing this dynamic and treating them as just I'm a human being and you're another human being and your needs and feelings are just as valuable as mine, and your needs for respect even at 2 and 3 years old are not any less important than mine are just because I'm bigger and older than you are. That doesn't mean that your feelings don't matter or that I don't have to be kind to you in the way that I speak. Because again, if you're not speaking kindly to them, then they're not going to speak kindly to you or to others.
So we gave an example of the old language of making a demand. Now let's give an example with our partner as well as with our children on what making a request would look like.
Right, and this is a very subtle difference.
Mm-hmm.
You may not think that this is really like, oh wow, you know, big
mm-hmm.
deal that you're doing it this way, but psychologically it is very different for you. Not that we're psychologists, we're just parents who figured out how to make this work between each other and our mm-hmm. kids so that we have less arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so I'm going to demonstrate how, let's take the garbage scenario. I'm going to make that same request, okay? Babe, would you be willing to take out the garbage this evening?
Yes, I would be willing to do that.
So notice I used a certain language because there's two ways of doing this. The first language that I used is the would you be willing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when she says, would you be willing, that's actually giving me a choice, because I could say no. I would not be willing to do that. I could, and I might have a valid reason for that. I said, honey, no, I'm not willing to do that. You don't know this, but I have a conference call that I've got to get on right now, and I didn't communicate to you that. So no, I'm not willing to take out the trash for you right now. I do appreciate the way you asked me to. But if she just says, honey, I need you to take out the trash right now, and I've got this conference call, well then I'm running to go take this thing out and running to get back to my conference call, and now I'm feeling flustered because my need for choice wasn't met, and what I have, I don't have enough time to communicate what's going on with me in that moment, because just the way that you asked.
Right. So now there's the second way of actually using the word request. Would you like to demonstrate that way?
Sure. Honey, I would like to request that dinner be on the table no later than 5 o'clock tonight, because I have a conference call at 5:30, and it would really meet my need for support if we could be done with dinner before that. Would you be willing to have dinner ready by 5?
Yeah.
So there I did both. I made a request, and then
But what's so great about, he let me know why he was making the request as well. You don't always have to do that, but giving me that clarity then gives me, one, it gives me I can choose to meet that request or not, but I'm motivated as to the reason behind why he was very clear and why he made that request.
Right. It's like you call a radio station and say, I would like to make a request. And the DJ says, yes, we can make that request. Or, no, I'm sorry, I'm full on requests. I don't have any more airtime to make a request. You know, a person can say yes or no, but at the same time, it's still going back to honoring that need, that basic human need that we have for choice.
Yeah.
You know, is incredibly important.
And it's the same within our children. So a common request, I homeschool my children, and a common request that I make of the kids is, I would like to request that you finish up what you're doing in the next 2 minutes and get to the table so we can continue with school.
Yeah.
So
go
ahead.
Well, just combining that with another video that we do about message sent is not message
I was
received.
going to mention that. Were you reading my mind?
No,
You might.
because only crazy people think that they can read other people's minds. We can't do it. Yeah, this is wives, right? Can you tell the wives out there that we don't have this capability?
I know we want our spouses to read our minds, but they really can't. We have to be very clear, very, very clear.
Okay, so coincidentally, we were thinking about the same thing, which is we have this other video that we've done about message sent is not message received. So sometimes you could be making a request. You could say, you could have that same request. Honey, I'd like to make a request that you take out the trash. And I'm engaged in some other activity, and my focus is totally there, and I don't even reply. And so,
That happens a lot.
yeah, I don't even reply. And so, if you are being aware of the fact, oh, I didn't get a reply, then you could make what request after that
Would you
action?
be willing to repeat that back to me?
And I can say, I'm sorry, honey, I was so focused on this, I did not hear your request.
And we use that.
It happens.
Same thing, the same example with the kids. I'll say, I'd like to request that you finish up what you're doing and get to the table. Can you repeat that back to me, please? So I know that they've heard me, that they've heard the request, and that they're going to follow through on that.
Otherwise, you have it, if she's just made the request without checking that I received the message, it would look very different, because then I don't take out the trash, and a couple things could happen. Number one, you could just see that it didn't happen, and you could do it yourself. At which point you're gonna feel
I'm gonna feel annoyed and irritated because you just couldn't help me out there, man.
right, and your need for what
Support.
wasn't met. Okay, so she just does it, and I have no and she's mad at me now, and I have no clue. I'm totally clueless, because I did not hear her request, and I didn't see her reaction when she saw I didn't meet her request, and I don't know now that she's feeling
The reason
annoyed,
that I'm slamming dishes around in the kitchen is because you didn't help me out.
and I'm not getting sex tonight because of it.
Censor.
No, it's real. This is real life. Okay, this is what happens. All right, so then, but if she checks for the understanding, then then it works out, so much better. And also, well, here's a second scenario is that I was not aware of the request. I was engaged in something else, so I didn't hear the request. And then you come back later and say, "Honey, I asked you to take the trash out."
And he goes, "What?"
And and because you see I didn't take it out, you're feeling that
Feeling annoyed.
You're feeling annoyed. So you come to me with this annoyed language of, "Honey, I asked you to take the trash out." And then I might be passive and say, "Oh," and just go do it. At which case you're still feeling unsupported because you had to ask me twice.
Yeah.
Or I can get defensive and say, "You didn't tell me to take the trash out."
Right.
Or I could say a less intense version of that, which is, "I didn't hear you say take the trash out," which would be a little bit better, because she could just say, "Okay, you didn't hear me," but I could just get defensive and say, "You didn't ask me to take the trash out," and then you would get defensive and say,
"Yes, I did."
"Yeah," and I can say, "No, you didn't."
You see how you just escalate? It builds and builds.
Yeah, you just escalate. So by you making the request, or saying, "I would like to request," or "Would you be willing to take the trash out?" and then you checking and saying,
"Oh, I'm sorry. I honestly just in this moment got distracted because the dog is snoring."
"Oh, okay, that'll
And
do it."
so I was thinking about, should I remove the dog from the room? And I apologize, I was not present with the sentence you just said.
Oh, okay. So I hear you were focusing a little bit on the dog and you weren't quite in tune with what was
Yes.
going on with our
Yes,
video.
I
Yeah, okay.
apologize.
So, would you be willing to bring your attention back
Yeah.
towards making our video
I
right now?
would be willing.
Okay.
I apologize.
So that's how the language works. And you can see that it takes more time. It takes more time and it takes a little bit more effort. But what takes more time and effort? Speaking this way
Yeah.
with each other, or having a fight on the other side of it?
Over something small, right? Something
Right.
small, garbage is small, but it becomes a big thing. Hey, there's the other dog. So the other really beautiful thing about this is when you use this with your children, remember how we talked about how they mirror language?
Yes.
There is this amazing moment when you hear your 5-year-old or 6-year-old say to their sibling or to you, "Would you be willing to do X, Y, and Z?" It is a beautiful moment because your children are reflecting that same language and they're showing kindness to one another and to grown-ups.
Yeah, or even having your child walk in and say, "Mom or Dad, I would like to request some juice." It's like, it's so polite.
Yeah, it is. And people will start commenting on how polite your children are.
Right, yeah.
And then you get to feel good.
And that really feels good when people say that your children are so kind and that they're so polite and they speak so well. So it's not just about getting things done. It is about the interaction that you're having with your partner and with your children, and them actually starting to language back this to you. Because it's great when you have when you're working with a partner that's on board and you're each putting in equal or close to equal. Or you can pull your partner back out, if they're not, doing it, because that happens. But it's a bigger challenge is if you're starting this by yourself and you're working with your partner, and obviously your children are not going to be on the same level as you are, but if you're working with your partner and they're not on the same level as you are, but you start using that language, eventually they'll start to copy it, back to you because it just feels nicer,
It does feel nicer.
for them.
Yeah. So a little longer of a video here, but a very powerful tool. And like with the other ones we've talked about, it just takes some practice.
Right.
Takes some practice.
So make requests. Either "I would like to request" or "Would you be willing to?" Yeah. And also use that message sent, message sent is not message received. So check to see that, especially with your kids. Have them repeat back to you what your request was.
Right.
And this will ultimately help you avoid conflict with your children and with your partner, and then ultimately over the long term you create kids that are very polite and respectful and are better received in the world.